Hey, people, welcome to the conversation. It's Outspoken Opinionated. Of course, I am your host, Edwin Meyer. We're here another Thursday. We're going to have a great conversation. Like I've always said, if you are not following us, we are asking you to please go ahead, follow us, of course, on the conversation on our YouTube page, the conversation Outspoken Opinionated. If you didn't know, we are on Spotify. So, hey, go up there and get on Spotify. Yeah, they said I needed to, put my hat on. But go to Spotify. We're also on Apple Podcasts. Basically, we have started doing things that we haven't done in a long time. So go to Spotify. We are there. The Conversation Outspoken Opinionated. Go to Apple Podcasts. The Conversation Outspoken Opinionated. Go to Facebook, of course, The Conversation. Go to YouTube, The Conversation. We are everywhere. It has been an amazing season. We started really, really great. I mean, the conversation has been extremely dope. I have some great guests today. I have I could lovebirds, a husband and wife. They're here. You guys don't forget now. We are celebrating. Of course, we're still celebrating African Heritage Month. We're also celebrating love, and so February is the month of love. And so, who better than to have the amazing Lorette and the amazing Emmanuel to come and grace us. And so I'm going to bring them into the broadcast so they can tell us who they are, what they do. They have an amazing ministry. So if you guys aren't familiar with that, they're also going to tell us. So welcome, Emmanuel and Lorette. You guys are on mute. And I'm going to mute you there.
Hello, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
We appreciate that you guys honor the invitation. You guys came. I know you guys are running on the schedule. I really appreciate you guys being here with us today. It's so great. The conversation has been extremely amazing for the last couple of weeks. You guys literally end the love segment.
Ooh,
so we're ending it with marriage.
Okay.
We started it with single people and we're ending it with marriage. Yes. But if you can tell the people, who you guys are, what you do professionally, and please don't forget to talk about that amazing ministry that you guys have.
Hi, you can start.
First?
There you go.
Well, I'm Lorette. We've been married. It's going to be 15 years this year. Wow. I'm a financial advisor, but I'm also a business owner. I have a home design firm. We are based here in Washington, D.C. area. And together we have a daughter named, she's 11 years old. Anything else? Well, I happen to be married to this guy.
All right. You forgot the most important thing, right?
There you go. The most important part of this whole conversation.
According to who?
Well, my name is Emmanuel Ken, and I'm coming all the way from Congo, Kinshasa, Great Congo. So I'm being here in state. I work as a IT developer, and among other stuff. I'm also in the ministry, and together we been married for close now 15 years almost. Yeah, it's a long time. And
don't mess up, Emmanuel.
I try not to.
Listen, we have a flight to catch right after this, so you better not mess up.
You gotta get us act together. I get you. You see, when I was married, I never did numbers. I never said how long we've been married for. I didn't say what date we met. I never did none of that because I always messed up. I ain't want problems.
You must be a confident man to have the numbers.
I try hard to stay away from numbers because every time I went there, I messed up. Everybody, no,
okay, I'm good at math, so I'm good.
You see, I'm not.
But and together we also have a ministry. Oh, sorry.
Exactly. No, go ahead. Talk about the ministry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the stand is a marriage ministry, and been at it for quite a while now.
Yeah, this is the 6th year.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Okay. So that's good. So you guys have the stand. Lorette has her home. The interior design. Business, you working, you guys have a daughter, you guys are then, I will consider you guys to be full-time ministry leaders in your local church. You're doing your own ministry on the side. So there are a lot of things that you're doing. And I want to give the people who are watching context because from the moment I knew you guys, apparently I think I knew Lorette the longest.
Yeah.
I knew Lorette the longest. She had to remind me a couple of years back that we're actually together in New Creation. But
Yeah.
it's so
We've known
quiet. I don't remember her.
really. Well, it's a funny story.
Then. Yeah. But
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. So from the time I knew you guys have been married, you've been in ministry, you guys have been doing a lot, you're doing your own thing, you have a daughter, you guys are so busy. Brought you guys on this platform because we really want to talk about, balancing the marriage ministry and then the church ministry. So just for us to have a conversation around the whole church ministry, I love to put myself out there. Those are one of my issues in my marriage because what I was in every ministry doing everything, but I forgot about my number one ministry, which was my marriage ministry. And so that trickled down to everything else that I did. So as you guys are here and on this platform, you have your stand ministry and all that stuff. How has that been working for you guys? Anybody can go.
I can start with that. I think, like you say, we've been in ministry. I remember since the time I got born again back in '97, I've been involved in ministry. And as we got married, we found ourselves actually into ministry and, and co-pastor with another. And from that point on, we just got married, and then 6 months later, we found ourselves in this new place and working to implant the new church, working as assistant pastor, a choir, a worship leader, and all that kind of stuff. And from that point on, it's challenging. It's not easy. I think at the beginning we struggle a lot. Like the mistake we always make as those who are in ministry is to get ourselves involved so much into the things of God, quote unquote, church, right? We look at it as this is why you're doing the work of God because you're involved in the activity within the church. And so you find yourself kind of neglecting. And so I never really learned about it. And so I found myself really busy up and into that ministry. So it takes a while to kind of learn to balance everything.
Yeah. And we got burned, on our personal lives, and we and I remember at some point I told him, because it was crazy. We used to live in Hagerstown. I used to work in Bethesda. I used to work in Virginia. So those are like distance.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll come from church. We come from work at 6:30. By 7:30, we needed to be at church. So it's like there were no conversation going on. No, how was your day? It was boom, 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 church. So guess what? What started to happen was we grew apart without even realizing that we were going through the motion, and that's not how I picture my marriage. So,
well, Lorette, I want to interject in there. So you get married to this guy. You're like, oh my God, you meet, the man is tall, he's like French. You got like, oh, you get married to this guy, life is going great, and then he becomes an assistant pastor. Was that part of the plan?
That was not part of the plan. Let's just be honest. It wasn't part. I mean, when we got married,
not sudden actually.
Well, we never had a conversation of you going to ministry as an assistant pastor. Because we met in the church. We met both doing ministry. So from the get-go, we both knew we were called, but not at. I mean, I didn't see that one happening.
Okay, just say that.
Exactly. I wasn't prepared.
Okay.
I don't know if I should say the timing was off or whatever, but I was not prepared for that life. Nobody. I mean, yes, like I say, we are taught about ministry and we grow up in church, but nobody really prepares you for ministry when it shows up. However, form and shape it shows up. So no, I was not prepared.
I'm sure you weren't, and even me, it's something that I knew I was called, and it's that I knew about it. And I think what we felt is the part, it's not basically to get that kind of understanding what involved to be ministry, and mostly young married and at the same time ministry, and to be able to serve God in some bigger capacity. We're not just saying it takes a lot of time to be there, because you have meetings, you have meetings with all the different ministry, you have to be the church, you have prayer meeting, all that kind of thing. we don't really, we didn't really get that kind of understanding or teaching about, hey, you call, but marriage and ministry, part of it,
Yeah, and I think also it's even in the Bible. They used to give soldier a year after they got married. They had a year before they could go back to the field. We didn't get that year. We were like married, but on the field, and boy, it wasn't pretty.
And that's why that's the conversation I want us to dive into, because you guys were young, you're young professionals, you have your life. You also, I think what people fail to realize is you also had goals. You had separate goals. Then you guys came together, you have one goal. And then you want to build a family. You want to expand in life. And like I would say, probably maybe you wanted to go back to school or want to make more money. There are so many things that you want to do. But when you are in ministry, in quote unquote the church, were there areas where you guys felt that there were places where they were like, okay, Laurette is a professional woman, so, or Emmanuel is professional, so we need to give him a little slack, even though he's an assistant pastor. Were there room for that?
No, there were not.
Go preach.
The funny thing is, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear it. Yeah.
The funny thing is, as Emmanuel mentioned, I took over the present worship. I was the present worship leader. For instance, I had days where life was so demanding that I would have to cancel practice or things like that. And people were not happy about it. I was called unprofessional. And that's the part people tend to forget, that even though I'm in ministry, I do have a personal life going on the side. So me calling off in a meeting doesn't mean that I'm no longer spiritual, or I'm now doing the things of God in a professional ways. It just means that life is happening and I have other things that need my attention right now. And even God understands. So no.
He said, no, girl. Well, and that's so, I don't know if you guys ever had this, but I think for me, I always felt guilty when someone told me, but this is for the Lord. You're doing it for God. Or it's like, somebody they come and say, I was talking to God and God told me that you have this conversation with you. And I think this is an area you need to go in. And you're just like, oh, okay. What else can I say? Like, can I say
you're right?
Exactly. And here's the thing: a lot of time we become too spiritual. My child, for instance, is not that I is the part where I was spiritual. I love the things of God, and I got deep into the spiritual stuff. But I forgot something. There has to be a balance. Understand that there's a balance in everything. It's that part that we kind of failed to and more so as we got married, I was really straight spiritual. I mean, no joke, man.
I suffered.
Okay? I'm not joking.
I'm about to ask some questions. I'm about to ask him.
Let me tell you. It took us how many years before we go to a movie theater?
I don't even know. We got into fights over going to movies.
Going to a movie.
That's how bad it was.
Because in my mind, you just looking at it as, man, I'm going to a movie kind of stuff is carnal things, is for the world, and all that spiritual things that happen.
Whatever we call spiritual.
No, I mean, when we're spiritual, when I say something that is really kind of, it means that you are into.
It's mundane. It's too mundane.
It's not mundane. We call it spiritual, mean that you are into, you think you're, let's change it. You are too religious.
There you go. I think that's what it is. You're so religious.
Into that you fail to understand that you have obligation toward your wife. And there are certain things that, will elevate to a point where you feel as though it's sinful or it's bad, as the worldly or whatever it is, but it's normal. I have a time, go to a movie and all that kind of stuff. It strengthens the relationship. So it's the thing that it took me a while to understand and to balance, get to a point where I became a little more balanced. And unfortunately, that caused a lot of friction action between us. just going through that journey and learning about it. And when you mix in life, demand, job, work, and all that kind of stuff, it's a
Yeah. Yeah.
recipe for disaster.
Well, we talk about it. I just gonna talk about it.
Yeah,
Couple of,
right.
two shows ago, we had the last week show we're talking about a conversation where we talk about couples, married couples, where when they're fasting, they can't have sex, they can't do that, they can't do the other. Did you guys experience stuff like that in your relationship, in your marriage?
Do you want me to answer?
Because you're French, y'all can't be doing that. French people can do that.
No, we'll talk about it. Listen, like I said, there's nothing we don't talk about.
Okay.
Yes, we did experience it, especially from him. Emmanuel was the type when he's fasting, it can touch you, it can kiss you, it can look at so it took our godparent, actually our godmother, one day. She was like, do you realize that God doesn't close his eyes whenever you're having sex, right? That it's a gift actually that he gave to you. So you fasting actually does not mean that you cannot be intimate. I don't know where that thing come from. Yes, of course you have to be in agreement. Like, I'm taking time for the Lord, but even the Bible says it. As you are fasting, just be mindful of the other person. Don't be going on those 21 days fasting without touching your spouse, because that's where you're starting also to opening doors to other things.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Emmanuel, just wait to let you know you are trending in the text messages. I just want to let you know you are literally trending. They're on you right now. They are really on you. These are your own people.
Yeah, let's go. But she's right, and the challenge with that, and like you said, that religious part of it, right?
Yeah.
Bring it into marriages, and when it's not mixed into a more balanced teaching, which within our church, it kind of like, although we had counseling at the beginning, but I think we evaluate, and we're fortunate to have people, even as we have godparents, people that we trusted to be part of our marriage, to help us, to guide us to this journey. And we submit that we told them, we'll listen to your voice, and we give you authority over us to mentor us and to talk to us. And that kind of help us in those challenging times. Other than that, if it wasn't for that man, it would be fire.
I don't think we would have been still together, to be honest with you. So
to go back to the sex things, the challenge with me is, that's religious where I'm in the spirit
and I'm in the flesh.
The intimacy is in the flesh. Oh man, you talk about sex even, that's the devil. The devil is coming to tempt me, and I'm fasting. Behind me, Satan. So,
yes, I know
that, right?
I understand what you're saying, because I think for me, there are numerous conversations I've had with friends. Even when when I was married, there were conversations that we had where you literally have to understand. I think for me, one person, somebody who was my mentor, told me there is you can never defile your bedroom. Mm-hmm. If you and your spouse agree on what you guys want to do. If the person wants to fast and you guys agree on it, fine. But one person cannot be in agreement and another person is upset, and you guys have become one. So the whole fasting and praying, what you're doing, where is it going to go?
No way.
Exactly. So I think, and why I touch on that was because I think those are the things that you miss as a couple, because nobody tell you that. Nobody get your manual and say, okay, so now you guys are married, husband and wife. The husband is going to be assistant pastor. The wife is going to be running the music ministry. These are things that are going to happen, but this is the way you're supposed to, deal with it.
Exactly.
So how did you guys do ministry together? Because it was always an issue. How do you guys do ministry together?
At the beginning,
pastor and the choir director. How did that work?
I'll tell you something. It's always important. I found that out, right? It's always important as you serve to both be in agreement and to serve together. I really think to serve within the same ministry or vicinity around there. Give an example, right? I remember when we were serving at one of the campus down in our church, we both served in a prayer ministry. I think we were rich because we together, we serve in the same ministry around that. I think it's one of the great things that we did is to be able to serve that, to understand that there's power to be together and doing the same thing in that ministry.
Yeah, and one of the benefit of that thing was we spent time together.
Yeah.
Like for instance, we had Friday night's prayer, and sometimes they'll ask me to lead the praise and worship while he's leading prayer. So we were actually spending time together outside of movie, outside of the house. We were doing life together. That and ministry was part of that life we were doing together. I don't know if things would have been. I mean, yeah, even with the local church, at some point I was serving the women ministry, and he was serving in the men's ministry. So, like you say, we're always within,
The same.
same.
Yeah, but it's important to serve. It's always the challenge, right? Even when we serve, we have to have that balance. But
Exactly.
as you understand the kind of level of service, you can kind of understand the late time, the engagement, the things that it has to do that, hey, there's something going on, there's a meeting, there's a retreat. You can kind of understand what they're doing and not to feel too left out or something like that.
Yeah, because that was an issue at the beginning. At some point, when he first starting to serve as an assistant pastor, I wasn't involved in ministry because to me, we were going to so many storms around that time. I was like, this is hypocrisy. We're not getting along at home. I am not coming to church to support you in any form or shape. So, and that even brought more friction between us because he was running out doing ministry. I was left out of the whole picture. Guess what? Whenever he came home, I fought him. So I think us finally serving together brought us close.
I don't want to blame nobody, but can I say that nobody, how can I put it without, can I say that you were not included into that whole process when he was, because I want to ask, when he was asked to do this, did anybody call you? Say, hey, we want you guys to, because I feel it's like if we are calling my spouse and say you want my spouse to do something, I think you should call, both of us should be involved in it because we technically we're going to do it together.
Yeah, exactly. Someone told me as we were going to Mesa, we were going through a challenging time and serving, and she was kind of reluctant, and I was engaged, running full speed. And someone told me, look, don't run too fast that your wife is now
leave your spouse behind.
Wow.
Because I found myself really running 100 miles an hour in ministry.
The boy was gone.
And she was just like,
I tell you, I've had an issue where my wife at that time was doing something. They wanted her to do something, and they had called her to a meeting. They asked her to do it. She had to give the answer right there and there, and then she comes home to explain it to me. I'm like, but why nobody didn't consider me? We are a package. So outspoken opinionated, quick on my email, and I sent an email.
No, she's not doing it.
Ain't gonna respond, I got. Well, the service that your wife is going to provide, we don't need you. So why would we come and call you and ask you? Yes. Word for word. And up to today, I kept that email and I have it with me. And I was like, wow, this is how people operate. So of course, being me, and those are the times where we were rocky as well. I'm sorry, okay, peace out.
Yeah.
If you ask me to do something, I'm sorry, I ain't got time.
Yeah.
And so I don't think, and that's why I don't think the quote unquote church or everybody involved in these ministries realize the toll that is put on the family when both families not involved into something that you want one of the couple to do. Exactly. And that's just my opinion. I think maybe some of us has learned from our mistake. It's like bring both of them together. Say, hey, we want to do something with you, Emmanuel, assistant pastor. We're ready to get your wife involved. So what is it that we can get your wife to do that should be closer to you when you are preaching or whatever? How to do that stuff. And I think a lot of times it's not involved. And I look at people where, like maybe if the husband is a pastor, he's going to different places to preach. Some of us have seen the firsthand what it can do to the children. All that kind of stuff. So Sam talking about, so now my lovely niece, Zoe Grace, comes into the picture. And you guys are in the ministry. Yeah. Lorette, this is when we put the demarcation on like Emmanuel is not involved in the conversation. I turn it over to you. So now, assistant pastor, you doing it, then you have a baby.
Mm. I stepped down. As simple as that. So right after she came, actually, I stepped down. I was not in ministry until Zoe was about when we moved here. She was about 4 years old when I slowly started to engage again in ministry. And what we did is when she turned 5 or 6, we enrolled her also in ministry. So she was dancing at church. So she became also to do ministry along with us. And I told Emmanuel one thing. I made it clear to my husband. I was like, my child will not be one of those PK kids who resents church because the parents are always gone. Because I started to see that happening. On Saturdays, we were gone doing ministry. No quality time was ever made for our child. Like we would drag her with us, but I mean, I don't think any kids wants to be at church every Saturday. So at some point, I told him, I was like, we're gonna have to turn down responsibilities. We're gonna have to learn to say no to some engaged invitation, and we started doing it. So when we don't want to do something, she comes first. That there is no. That's one thing we don't compromise. Our family comes first. If we can, yes. But if our calendar is booked, we promise her to go watch a show in DC. Guess what? You're not gonna see us that weekend. As simple as that.
I love that. I so love that because I know how my son now appreciates that. Like he knows, he'd be like, "Daddy, no, we ain't going around." I'm like, "Wow, I got football." I'm like, "Oh, okay, we ain't going." Like he knows that we ain't going. He already knows that. Daddy, we ain't going around. I'm like, "Yeah, we ain't going." So it's based on if he wants to go after football practice, then we're gonna go somewhere. I think a lot. I like how you said it. I think a lot of I've been around a lot of pastor kids. I got good friends who are pastor kids. Their parents are bishops and stuff like that. And it's weird because they resent church.
They
and
resent.
Like, why you don't want to go to church? And then they're like, because my whole life I've been in church.
Yeah, it's not just to be in church the whole time. It's because even when you're back in church, the child doesn't feel as though she's as important
part
as
of
church.
it,
It's like you prioritize church above them, and you basically making, like you say, church become more like a competitor than anything else. Is competing against that, your child for time, attention, and thing. What I realized with Zoe, for instance, is what she doesn't forget anything. I think most of the kids don't, but she really doesn't. She doesn't forget anything. You better not promise her anything. I mean, I've been promising her for the past year I'll get a crab dip, and every single day she'll just like crab dip. It just happened that look, I can't get it today. Let me look for it. I couldn't find it or something. So today I was like, you know what? I better get it. So I texted my wife. I was like, go get Zoe crab cake. When I pick her from school, the first question, I feel like eating crab dip.
Slick.
But here's the thing. The thing is, kids, what I understood is, I don't think kids have a problem for us serving. They will enjoy it. But just want to make sure that we are part of it and we take them and we think about it, they're important. And there's small things where she wants crab dip. She doesn't ask much. Zoe is not really a demanding kid. She doesn't ask much and stuff. But when she asks something, she really wants it. And so I make sure that if she wants something and she asks for something, that I pay attention to it and I make sure I do it. Or so she wants to go somewhere, even when I can't do today. And I promise her I'll do this day. Let's do it on this day. But I make sure I do it on that day. So you keep your promise and you make sure you make time for them. Because it's not always possible to not you have some engagement. There'll be time, right? Be realistic. There'll be time, whether it's work, whether it's like ministry, there will, something will happen. But if you can't make it there, you make a promise to do it the next time. But on that day, you make sure you take make good on your word and you do what you say you will do. And they will appreciate that, and they'll not look at church anything as a competition.
Because I think that's the issue. The moment they start feeling like they're competing with church, they resent church.
Same thing go ahead, Sarah. Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say same thing with us. The reason why at some point I resented my husband was because I felt like I was competing. Everybody had his attention but me. Like church member would call at 7 p.m. He was gone. 10 p.m. he was on his prayer. But I had to be the one waiting, So I think it's the same thing with kids. So eventually they resent it.
And what about the fact where Emmanuel being a pastor, I don't know if that was the same case for you, but I felt some of my friends who their parents are pastors, their parents didn't know how to turn that collar off. They didn't know how to turn it off from being a pastor. They come home and they're still the pastor. And I'm like, sir, no, you're not.
You're daddy, and you're
daddy.
You're a daddy now. Can you be daddy? So Emmanuel, so how did you, if there was an issue for you or if it wasn't an issue for you, like, how was that?
Not really. I think once I learned that, at the beginning, probably it's that religious part of it, but quickly I learned that when I'm home, I try to relax, even among people, to kind of relax and be myself, even with my daughter and stuff. I became a little more relaxed. I don't take myself as seriously as I used to. I used to take myself really seriously, but, take time to joke around. The other day we had this, it's just like, I'm having.
I've been seeing your videos. I see your videos.
I'm just going and dance around with her. Rap, and she's like, "You're having a senior
midlife crisis."
Midlife crisis. Because I have my
I deal with it.
I've been having that for a while, but having those moments, those fun moments when you just sit and watch TV and we have some cooking stuff. I'll sit down with her, we cook, we do stuff that kind of, hey, don't take yourself too seriously. Sometimes we take ourselves seriously, more holy and serious than God. But relax.
And I think that's part of the whole thing, the whole balancing part. If you can, you can be a parent, you can be a pastor, you can be a worship leader, whatever you can be. But when you come home, you can be somebody's daddy, somebody's mom, or you can be somebody's husband, or be somebody's wife. I think that's extremely important. But you guys now started this ministry, Stand. And how long has Stand been operating?
6 years.
Stand has been operating for 6 years, and Loretta is smiling. I can tell that is her baby. Like, she said it like 6 years. Like, she is proud of herself. So I can really see it. Like, Loretta is extremely proud of Stand, and I really want us to really talk about Stand for the next half an hour. I want to find out because I think Stand explains everything this entire conversation has been about, the topic marriage and everything you guys Stand. So why that ministry? Why? Now I'm going to do the Q&As. Why the Stand?
Actually, the Stand started out of frustration, right? So before we launched into the ministry, the Lord was talking to us about creating a platform, just creating a platform. But the funny thing is, like I say, people talk about the honeymoon phase in the marriage. We didn't have a honeymoon phase. We went from I do to, oh my God, I made a mistake. And it was like that for at least, I'll say 3-4 years, where it was, I was miserable in my marriage. The beginning of my marriage. What?
No,
okay. I thought he was trying to tell me that.
Don't start with the ball.
Oh no, I didn't say that. I'm just moving back.
Exactly.
So it was, we were going through challenge, and out of curiosity, I will ask people around us, because I was like, we newlyweds, so other people are probably dealing with the same issue. But funny enough, everybody seemed to have a perfect marriage. So I was like,
They lie.
Let
me tell you it now. They lie. Liars. If they are on here too, you all are liars.
EJ, we don't want problems, though.
No, we are lying.
No, So it was just that frustrating. Like, we felt like we were hopeless. And then we started to pray about our marriage. We're like, Lord, you got to fix this thing, because this boat is sinking. Yeah. So it took us a while. And then I remember one day I went on a walk. And we had started to talk about, we had vision. We had the same vision. God, the Lord would show us things, but we never spoke about it, because first of all, we didn't think we were qualified to tell anybody anything about marriage, because we couldn't figure out our own marriage. Until the Lord, one day, I remember it so clearly. I went on my morning walk, and the Holy Spirit brought up that conversation again, like, I need you to create a platform. And I remember I said it loudly. I was like, Lord, we don't qualify. I can't even forgive my husband. And he said something, it's like, it's not about you. It's about your children. It's about the future generation. Because when you guys stand, then your kids stand. But if you crumble, how do you even introduce them to a forgiving and loving and kind God? Because you can't even forgive your partner. And that's a little bit how the stand came to be. So
yeah, I think she says it. She just say everything. How it started.
yeah.
Out of that, and we see the challenge, right? We remember the year we got married, 1997.
1997.
Oh, in
I told you
1997.
to leave numbers alone.
I know.
Like 97. Why even know you
I
97?
got born again in 1997, but
I didn't
in
even know you had
2007,
Yeah.
in 2007, when we got married, that year there were so many marriages in the church,
Weddings.
wedding,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Around the friend and people, but today it just, I can't remember if
I think you can count maybe
you can
4
count.
couples
Yeah,
out of the 20 something,
yeah.
maybe
I,
4.
I know.
Yeah.
So things happen actually within like a couple year. We already saw a year. We heard news, this, and then a couple year before you know it. And so there's that burden part of it. There is also that burden to ask yourself, hey, if us Christian and we struggle with this,
So
and
much.
this is what's happening in marriage. We have God, we have the blood of Jesus, we have the anointing oil, we have everything, the Bible, the verse, and everything we have. But if we are struggling with it, with all the stuff that we have, how much more those who are not believer?
Yeah.
They don't have those kind of grace and forgiveness teaching and stuff like that. So there's really a need for us to look at it from that standpoint of standing. And this is why we have the stand, right? From Ephesians 6, let's say, stand therefore, and the image will basically is like Lord say, is you are building like a banner or a standard or something to standing up against something for your kid, for the generation to come, for the thing to come, so that they will see this marriage and know that there's a God for it.
I love it. And for the people, someone asked me, said, you're crazy. People aren't lying. And why I would say people are lying, the people you ask, is because first of all, people need to understand when you getting married as a Christian, first of all, you guys don't live together. You don't share nothing. So
No.
you have 6 months of 1 day a week counseling. That basically for 1 hour. You really don't know this person. This person really don't know you, and you guys are coming to live together.
Yeah.
Together.
First of all, that is a clash right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
After you guys have already stressed from the wedding, from all the other drama, you come home where you think you're going to stress, then you stress and fight. So when people say that's why I said people are lying, because maybe you and your partner or whoever might not be in physical fighting and screaming at each other, but I know deep down in your heart, the first month of your marriage, you were like, Lord, what did I put myself in?
Exactly.
Why did I do this? I'm thinking from cross, like, what in Jesus' name am I doing? Oh no, I want to live by myself.
Yeah.
I want there are people in the house. I don't want to see nobody right now. I want to be by myself. I don't want to talk to nobody. I just want to go and watch my own show. Why you change the channel? So nobody can help, and that's what I'm telling you. So, and that is the issue I think that we have most of the time. People aren't just honest and transparent to tell you and say, "Girl, we all going through it."
Yeah.
Like he's getting on my nerves. I get into my car and I drive. You come home, you like. Okay, when you tell me you couldn't put the rice in the you couldn't put rice in the rice cooker.
You just don't know that.
Do I live there for myself?
Subject next.
Exactly. Those are the things. So when people say, so the people who said that to you, they lie. Because the fact of the matter that you were like, okay, I know I'm not crazy. Like there's something going on with me. Because I remember when I was at my wits and I'm like, okay, this marriage is done. I'm over it. I'm done. And I was like, okay, it's just me. Because everybody sees me like, I am like, what is it? What am you against the will of God? You're a sinner. I've heard people, they told me openly that I was a sinner against the will of God. And I was like, then I went to this church where they had a divorce. They had like a divorce program. Program where people who were divorcing it. And I was like, Oh, so there are people like me too. Okay. So they nothing. So I'm not crazy. And so
No.
then you sit down there and you realize, and then they take you back to certain things there's certain things you are not able to deal with. And so this other thing unfold, and this other thing unfold. And so your body has come to this place where it's telling you, we can't do it no more. I'm going to pop.
Yeah.
And so I'm so glad that you guys can speak on it. It's been 15 years. We're talking about the stand. So what do you guys do in the stand? Like, how do you guys reach out to couples? Is this for couples? Is this for single people? Like, who can come to stand? Because I see everybody asking that. Let's stand. And
No.
stand for your house.
No, before we even jump to that one, you mentioned something. We're talking about, we are trained for 6 months for an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and then we are sent into marriage.
Yes.
Therefore, we are prepared. It's funny because I was thinking about the conversation today earlier, and I was like, I think maybe I could be wrong. Don't take my word for it. What if the mistake the church is doing is to wait till people come to tell you that they are ready for marriage? Have those 6 months of counseling and send them. Why don't we talk? We have young adults ministries. Why don't we talk about reality of marriage in those programs? Why don't we start preparing young women or young young men about marriage from the moment they turn 18? Why don't we
Tell them that.
we can tell them that, but that's
Why not? They were 18. This is what I said. By the time the children, God bless you. God bless some of us who, we try. So by the time they are 15, they're already.
they know everything. They know everything.
I think we should.
And I think that's the mistake that
these conversations.
I agree. I think that's the mistake that's being done, is that we wait till, we come 6 months before marriage. And, some of us, a lot of the things I've learned in marriage, I learned through, some of my honest friends. I learned through, nobody told me that sex was an issue in marriage. First of all, in the Christian community, even the way they present as sex, like it's a bad thing, you have to be careful, and then. Finance is a big issue in marriage. Why don't we talk about those things from the pulpit? So that way, when I'm entering into my marriage and I'm faced with challenge, with the financial burden and all the stress that come with money, at least I will have a clue that those things are normal. Because we run into storms and we think that we are alone, that my husband is this strange man, losing his salvation. This is the way he's behaving. But if someone had told me that it's part of marriage, maybe I would have readjusted. Maybe my expectation would have been different. Maybe. So yeah, I think we have to change the way I don't know why, especially our community, we are so, I don't know if I should say shame. We too reserved. A shame maybe to talk about things. We're dealing with people's life. Marriage is somebody's life. I always say it's a gamble. At the end of the day, you don't know what you're getting. But at least if I have something under my belt that will make me realize that I'm not alone on this journey. Well, people have to be honest also to be able to share that it's part of the journey. But I think we might save a lot of marriage. We
probably will, because like you said, I think especially when it comes to the sex stuff, people don't talk about certain things. There are couples that are dying in the church because one partner like certain things and the other partner say, I ain't doing that. That's ungodly. And the person like, okay, I don't wait my whole life to hold myself to come into this marriage because that's what the Bible says. That's what I've been taught, and now I'm not being fulfilled sexually. Then that's a different problem. Finance.
Because you think of it as unholy.
It's a beautiful thing. Sex is good.
I remember.
What's wrong with it? If you're doing it the right way, let's put it this way.
The right way.
Again, power of agreement. You have to agree.
You have to agree. You have to agree, and you have to be the right balance teaching, right? But you have to teach, right? It's the truth you have to say, and you don't have to be ashamed of it. I remember I was somewhere and among some, some leader and some, I remember a man of God was there. And so I was sharing something about the sexual aspect and the challenge that I have in the sexual, but you can sense the
The tension in the room.
Tension and protect. How quickly, that leader, that pastor moved away from the subject, because they didn't want to guys deal into that. And this is the part, right? Everybody deal with some challenge.
Yeah.
And so you sit on your own side and you ask yourself, and like you say, am I crazy? Is there something wrong with me, or is there something wrong with the person? And it's like this kind of merge debate or fight that always about the toilets and stuff
The
like
toilet
that.
seats
Issues, and you would go and fight over it.
We fought over the toilet seat. I woke him up at 2 a.m. Better go put that toilet seat down.
And all this stuff. Oh yeah. And so I'll sit down and say, what? Did that marry a crazy woman? Oh God, my life is finished. Oh, my life is finished.
That was me. When I'm ready to talk, I don't care what time it is. I can jump from my sleep and say, we need to talk. That
mean you it's like, oh, but hear those kind of things, those conversations. But if you're just having among yourself and you don't go and you don't sit in the conversation among your peers and stuff where you can share those experiences, share this, you'll think like you're going crazy until you hear, oh, you know what? That person also going through. Oh, that one has been married 15 years. And going through it. That one they still deal with it. Oh, so it's normal. Oh, okay. And this is what the stand really is, right? It's about just bringing them and tell them, you know what, you're going through this, that's fine.
It's
normal. Know what, we also went through it, and probably going through it, and you're not alone. It's okay. Let's go and let's try to go into that journey together. Let's learn about it. What can we fix? What we cannot fix? How can we deal with it? But let's move on and ignore the things that are kind of unnecessary. And, by unnecessary mean they're not as important. They're not impeding.
Are they gonna matter?
Things, man, are they gonna matter one day or 2 years down the line? And focus on what is important. And if things go, hey, what the heck? Everybody's going through it. You'll be fine. It's just chill. And that's the part I think we want. We want people to kind of like chill. You'll be okay. We all go through that. Take a deep breath. You have God on your side. You are together. It's not your enemy. It's somebody that you married. You have the best interest at heart. She has the best interest at heart for you. And so just, take it easy.
Yeah. So this is the...
and that's why I think I love about what you guys are doing. It's because you watch the videos, go online. I'm a stalker. If you guys didn't know, I stalk people.
Well, thank you for stalking.
I stalk. I'm like, oh my God, I like that. I like when you guys do little clips and stuff or different things. I'm like, oh wow, those are real conversations because and I would say this: when you are part of a certain group, and the people in your group aren't talking and aren't having those conversations, but you have issue, you don't say nothing because you're like, sure, I want nobody to look at me crazy.
Exactly.
I know somebody who told me, so, no, we don't argue. We never argue since we got married. I'm like,
we got the same thing.
We got 2 hours ago.
Listen, I don't know what's my...
I went to church, we got out of the car, we act like when we argue, we go sing and dabba in the car, we argue again. And then we never argue. I was like,
you don't argue. I'll be scared. If someone comes to me and say, me and my husband or me and my wife, we don't argue ever.
I don't even want to be your friend.
I was like,
and that scared me. I would tell you, I said it's scared.
I'll be scared.
It was a couple that were really close. I've been doing for a very long time. So I was just like, oh, okay. And so what I did was I never brought up any conversation about that kind of stuff again. Because in the back of my mind, I'm like, they lie.
Yeah.
But I can't say anything because I'm like, okay, I'm going through stuff. I'm scared to say something, but then they will be looking at me funny. And it could be maybe they probably wasn't even going to judge me, but because of that thing of we don't argue, and I know when I'm ready to argue, it's like the jury and the judge. It's like going down, we bring exhibits, we bring facts, there are exhibits, we bring pictures, there are text messages to prove highlight that, like I can go in. So I'm just like, how they don't argue? So then maybe something's wrong with me. And so you really start to look at yourself like, damn it, something very wrong with me. So I don't know, and that's why I really like what you guys are doing, and just the fact that people can be open, people who are watching and commenting, they're saying like they're so excited that you guys are transparent, you guys are giving exactly what people can, people are looking forward to, because I think, like you said earlier, we are thrown into marriage, and I really want for us to go over this again. 6 months, 1 hour a week of counseling. That's what you do. That's what is told that you will be okay to get into marriage. You're talking about two different people from two different culture, maybe two different backgrounds. It's like it's a mess. It's literally a mess. Let's just be honest. It's a mess.
We're from the same country, although not the same neighbor. We met here in the States. But although with the background, knowing each other, same country and stuff like that, we're still two different people. We grew up in
very differently.
Two different area, two different people. And so we met here, two different people. She was this, I was that. And so it will take, there will be a lot of friction. And there will be a lot of fight. But here the good part, right? What's really happened, and this is where we missed the point, right? What really happened is, like the Bible said, the two shall become one, right? It's that becoming part of it. In the becoming part of it, which means in order for it to fit, some things had to come off a little bit so that it can,
pruning. It's a pruning.
Come and fit properly. If you try to get something, if it doesn't go in real right, it means that thing need to be sharpened a little bit, and worked a little bit. And so this is what's happening in those frictions. So you're coming and you're becoming one, and you're going through this issue, you're going through this challenge, and you had to stick to it. And it's helpful when you have people around you
that can keep you in line. They keep you in line.
In line. What we thank God for is when we're about to get married and we're praying for godparents, and we met this couple, we sat down with them, we prayed, and they were able to help us and we were honest with them. We're honest with everything. We'll talk. They ask us questions. They ask me questions that I never want to be asked. But, I submit it's something that I took seriously. And I say, you know what? They are looking out for me, right? They're not family member. We're not related, but they're looking out for us. And they are people that they have a testimony and stuff. And so they can correct me. They can call me out. They'll call her out. They let us know what we're doing right, what we're not doing right, and things of that nature. Yeah.
And don't forget, in marriage, we are continuously evolving. So there will never be that place where we're in perfect sync. That would never happen. And I believe one of the way also God bring us together, and you're right, marriage counseling should be like annual. It went past. It should be like annual physical. I agree. There will never be a place where we are imperfect, because at the end of the day, it's Christ working his character in us and through us. So those friction are also a way is molding my character, is molding me first. Because at the end of the day, God is interested in me becoming more like him than Emmanuel. So I know as when we go into tough time, nobody rejoices in those moments. But truth of the matter, Emmanuel and I have become close. I believe some of those challenges have brought us even close together, because now I know what pisses him off. I know what brings him joy, and it was based on those are feedbacks I'm getting from fights. You don't get them right away, but eventually you learn that how the person moves. So yeah, but you're right. The 6-month counseling, they don't help. I mean, they help. They give you foundation, but they are not enough. And like I was saying, I don't understand why. For instance, we wait for, why can't we have quarterly marriage conference and we open it to singles people? We have young adults. Those are good platforms because everybody's at least 18 over there aspiring to marriage. So why don't we open those things and start talking about the reality of marriage and find those people who are honest enough to share their stories. Don't just tell me how you made it, but explain to me what the process has been. So
and I like that you said that. And I know that's why I believe that last week episode basically has been my most watched episode, because everybody on there was extremely vulnerable about the divorce. All of us on the platform last week was divorcee. And one person we had, Brooks, who makes us because he was somebody, but he shared and all of us were shocked. But he's like, y'all went through, but I almost went through. I've been at that road where I wanted to give up. But what helped me? And so, I think it's like you guys sharing and giving everybody the opportunity to really understand that, look, and one thing I know somebody told me, I don't know if it was my dad or somebody said, marriage is not one size fits all.
No.
Everybody marriage is different. Don't think that, because it worked for Lorette and Emmanuel, meaning it will work for you. No, it probably won't. You might get some pointers, but it probably won't. But you guys have been amazing. I know you guys are rushing. You guys have to get to the airport, and I so appreciate you guys for coming here. But before you leave, there are people who are watching. If there is something, you can please tell them where they can find Stan. They can follow you. They can like you, where they can meet there. And there's something you can just leave with people who might be going through some bad times in the marriage and how they can be able to overcome and stuff like that.
Want me to go? So you can, first of all, thank you for having us. This was such a pleasure. I didn't even see the time going by so fast. Like I said, those conversations should happen more often. But you can find us on Facebook, The Stand, Marriage God's Way. You can find us on Instagram, The Stand. We are finally starting meeting in person, still on a smaller scale. We have an upcoming program in April, a night of worship for couples and singles, whomsoever wants to worship. We'll have more details. We have our conferences every year in October. So the third weekend in October will be our annual conference. It's going to be so much fun this year. You don't want to miss it. We'll have an after party. We may have you on the panel.
I was going to say, can a single man come?
Yes, you can, because we're gonna open it to single people. So yes, you
can. We're coming. There you go. I'm bringing people. We're coming.
You are welcome. Everybody's coming, right?
Everybody's coming.
But yeah, that's where you can find us. Please go on our page, like, share, and
we're looking forward to.
Yeah, let us know what else subject you would like to talk about, and we are open. There's nothing that we don't talk about.
And there's also a part where I know there's some people that always want some advice and counseling on the side, which you can just go. What do you call it? IMS? Oh,
you can DM us.
DM us. Yeah, I'm not that
trained. He literally just aged himself.
He just totally gave up on his age.
I am, bro.
I know I'm not up there, but and we'll be there. There's a lot of things that God is doing. We're excited about it. You didn't talk about our fire.
We're gonna have a family night.
Okay, great.
I have a retreat we're planning as well with the couple. So
yeah. And for anyone going to challenge, we want you to know that marriage is it's a beautiful thing, but it's not without hiccups. Trust me, we've been married 15 years, but maybe we went to our own challenge, and there's always that thing. This could be the storm that takes us out. But at the end of the day, surround yourself with godly people. Surround yourself with people that will keep you accountable. Please, we live in a society that tells us to pretend to be happy on social media while you're dying with your issues. Don't do that to yourself. Speak up. Find somebody and speak up. Abide in someone and have them pray with you and for you, and you will be okay.
Well, this has been great. I want to say thank you to Lorette and Emmanuel for joining us this Thursday. It was amazing. You guys were super, super great. We say thank you. I'm asking my people to follow them. This Stand on Facebook. The Stand again on Instagram. So go follow them, like them, follow all the things they're doing. Lorette, what is the business called? The interior design business.
It's called All Things Pretty.
All Things Pretty. I tell you, God gonna bless me with the house. And I'm going to call you because I've been seeing those like that.
You don't have to have a house, even an apartment.
Even apartment. We work on
I'm not fixing up the apartment like that.
I'm going whatever.
But thank you guys for coming. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And we will call on you again because we got something coming up.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having us.
Bye. Safe trip as well. Okay, guys. So this was the conversation. Of course, Outspoken Opinionated. You had Lorette and Emmanuel. They own the stand. It's a great couples ministry. Again, like I said, if you are not following them, we ask you to go to Facebook, follow them, go to Instagram. This was the conversation. Outspoken Opinionated. You can follow us on Instagram. You can follow us on Facebook. You can also follow us on YouTube, The Conversation Outspoken Opinionated. We are on Spotify. We ask you to go like and subscribe. We're also on the Apple Podcast. We ask you to go like and subscribe. To those who are watching, we say thank you so much, and we'll see you next week, Thursday. So everyone, have an amazing week.